Hello, this is my 5th AGM as the Executive Director of Hastings Trust, and I'm going to begin my report with a brief summary of what the Trust has contributed to community and economic development of Hastings over that period. I am going to glide through these fairly quickly, but there are some points of note. I joined the Trust just as the credit crunch was in the news, and we all know how the country's economy has fared since then. Despite these pressing times, we have seen a healthy turnover, which has in fact increased. This big peak mainly represents a big chunk of development funds for my place of about $250,000. If you take this away, our income remains fairly stable over the past 3 years. These are the number of volunteers volunteering directly with the Trust, including trustees. It doesn't include volunteers placed elsewhere who have been supported by the Trust. Interestingly, although we still maintain a healthy level of in-house volunteering, there has been a steady decline. Partly we know that this is due to the fact that we've had paid workers on reception funded through the Future Jobs Fund and the Learn project. Partly this is due to the fact that some of our key volunteering initiatives, such as the Green Team, All Valley Befriending and the Eco Retrofit, are no longer in operation. And partly we know that we are now supporting more people who want to be involved rather than formal volunteers in initiatives outside the Trust. There may also be other factors: benefit regimes, work programme type provision, maybe other more interesting volunteering opportunities elsewhere in the town. Visits to the Resource Centre have increased significantly over the past 5 years. We have improved the physical environment, the facilities on offer, the support available, and access to other projects within and outside of the Trust. It is also a sign of the times that more and more people are needing our support. And this latest year we've started to record the number of individual job search sessions carried out in the centre. This year it was 2,304. That's about 46 a week, or 9 a day. So over the past 5 years, the Trust has brought over £3.8 million worth of regeneration resources into the town. We have supported over 22,000 volunteer hours worth £170,000. Almost 33,000 people have used our Resource Centre facilities. We have delivered almost 2,000 affordable loans to a total value of £576,000. In addition, we have provided training to over 550 people, created employment opportunities for over 100 people, not all directly within the Trust, and assisted countless people into employment, training, formal education and volunteering. During my time with the Trust, the economic situation has remained challenging, and the reality of welfare reform, benefit cuts and public spending changes is clearly biting. We are seeing an increased demand for our services and those of our partners, alongside decreasing resources for delivery. The landscape for the voluntary, community and social enterprise sector is changing radically. And despite the Coalition's commitment to big society, community rights and localism, we are being forced to work in different ways with new and unknown partners across unfamiliar geographic boundaries. Changes in the strategic framework and pressure on town hall budgets means that for organisations like ours, who have been heavily reliant on those regional structures and the community funding frameworks of local government, there are significant challenges that we are having to face up to, not least how we preserve our independence. New funding models such as payment by results can compromise our delivery mechanisms and have the potential to force us to focus our work on those easier to help in order to draw down funds. Coupled with an apparent inability to influence the design and delivery of services and the funding models that support them, we are at risk of being lost amongst the larger quasi-voluntary sector organisations such as A4E and Serco, who have the size and the finance to take the risk. The increasing blurring between sectors due to new funding models and the resulting increased competition also raises the risk of the public losing faith in charities. Recent reports that companies like Wonga may be getting ready to deliver affordable loans through publicly funded schemes has the potential to jeopardise the credibility of CDFIs and credit unions. All of this means that sector confidence is low. Although the national picture is one of charities seeing an increased demand for services, confidence amongst managers and trustees within the sector is at an all-time low, with small charities and larger ones traditionally reliant on public sector funding most at risk. Around 40% of charities are anticipating utilising reserves to sustain core delivery over the next 2 years. More worryingly, about 20% of charities have limited or no reserves to turn to. We are vulnerable and our communities are vulnerable. Finding ways to enable communities to develop their resilience when worrying about one's own future is a challenge, but not an insurmountable one. And it is critical that we are focusing on why we are here. And these pressing times and changing landscape for the sector, with new ways of working, increased commercial competition and reduced resources, puts extra pressure on our trustees and governance. Increasingly professional skills are required, skills that the private sector would pay for, and increasingly complex decision-making and time requirements. In recognition of these changing times, the government made funds available to assist organisations such as ours to make that transition to independence from, or at least a lesser reliance on, public funding. And we were fortunate enough to secure £125,000 from this scheme in April 2011. This money helped us to sustain Oasis to its independence following the expiry of PCT funding, to sustain the loan scheme through its first year without public funding, and maintain the core management team. It also enabled us to invest in a root and branch review of the trust. And to do this, we engaged Nick Eubank Associates, and you may remember the facilitated discussions with Nick and Stephanie at last year's AGM. Their work led to these conclusions. The trust is perceived to be a good thing for the town, but residents and stakeholders are unsure about what it does. It can be seen as unfocused, and our profile is too low. Using the most cited descriptive words in the AGM workshop, it can be said of the Trust, it is an innovative and diverse local community-based organisation that is creative and forward-thinking, whilst being helpful, committed and welcoming. But it is hidden from many in the community, and the general public doesn't generally understand what the Trust does, and it is sometimes difficult to explain. The outcomes and recommendations of Nick and Stephanie's work were broadly adopted by the Trust, and the most visible change, just after the period of the review, was the modern new logo and a re-articulation of our vision and mission. Further, this has helped us to reconfirm our strategy, the activities that we will undertake in order to meet those aims. Delivery over the past year falls within these areas and will continue to do so in the future. We have continued to develop our asset base, including our resource centre in Robertson Street, and almost 100% of our property is now let on affordable terms to socially focused and/or creative organisations. Trustees reconfirm that our properties are investments and intended to generate income for the Trust. Our tenants pay rent, which helps to sustain the core of the organisation. We couldn't survive without them and the valuable rental income that they provide. We've continued to deliver employability support through our resource centre, volunteering activity, our partnership with Hastings Furniture Service to deliver paid work and training placements for young people, and one-to-one support provided by our Community Enablers scheme. Community Enablers have not only provided one-to-one support for residents, but they have also assisted in the development of community activities and initiatives for the benefit of the wider community. Access training, will be giving out certificates of achievement later on, and enabled local groups to recruit and support their own volunteers. Oasis continued to deliver its valuable resource in the Ore Valley and is now fully independent from the Trust, a registered charity in its own right. Funds for the full EcoFab project following our successful pilot were secured in March 2011, and the project gained momentum, with its highlight being the Eco-Fabulous event at All Adventure Playground in the summer. Following Carol's retirement in early 2012, we recruited Sally Lampett, who is passionately driving the project forward. And in December, we heard that we were one of the very few locally based organisations to be awarded social action funds to deliver our exciting new street-level volunteering project in partnership with Hastings Furniture Service, Rother Voluntary Action and Rye Partnership, called Neighbourhood Enablers. The project did not commence delivery until April 2012, outside the period of this review, but you will receive a presentation from this vibrant team following today's formal business. Looking forward, In order to survive in difficult times, Hastings Trust must seek to develop resilience or sustainability. Resilience is a useful term which tends to be used in terms of disaster recovery. When you consider how broad, deep and long the current economic crisis is, resilience is an appropriate term. We cannot guarantee resilience, but there are steps that we are taking as an organisation to give us a fighting chance. Firstly, the re-articulation of our vision, mission and strategy was an important process, sometimes painful, but what it served to do was remind trustees of our purpose, bring that up to date with current times and embed that within the mind of the town. Independence in the voluntary sector has two aspects, which are both key components of a vibrant democratic society. One is the strength and independence of the sector as a whole. The other is the independence of individual organisations within it. Hastings Trust is fiercely proud of its independence. Confidence and resilience go hand in hand. This is not blind optimism, but a pragmatic positivity with a strategy for managing shocks and ensuring public benefit is paramount. The need for professional skills within the organisation is essential. We are working together to identify the skills that we have and the skills that we need. Trustees and staff move on, and we miss them when they've gone, but we need to ensure that we have robust succession planning in place to ensure that we do not have strategic gaps in vital skills. This point is quite important. We have to earn money to survive. The term not-for-profit is a misnomer. We do seek to make profit within the constraints of regulation. It is what we do with them that's important. At the forefront must always remain public benefit. There is no point in safeguarding an organisation if it is no longer meeting its aims. By keeping public benefit in the specific form our strategy dictates as our raison d'etre, we can stay focused and not diverted from the work at hand. And finally, strengthening our resilience to shock makes us much more able to develop community resilience. In fact, our hub project at the Observer Building is an opportunity for us to demonstrate how to tandem organisational resilience with community resilience, in that the facilities provided within aim at building the networks, contacts, creativity and innovation that will help to make Hastings more resilient, whilst also providing a viable income stream for the Trust, which develops our resilience. And finally, I come not only to the end of my 5th AGM report, but also to the end of my last, as I'm leaving the Trust and Hastings at the end of the year to take up a new position in North Yorkshire. I've enjoyed every minute of my time with the Trust, and this is the longest that I've remained in the same job, which I think is testament to my belief in the organisation. It is good for any organisation to have a change in leadership once in a while, and 5 years is in fact the average length of service of a charity chief executive. An end is only a beginning, this one for both the Trust and for me, and taking that first step is the hardest. We just have to do it. All third sector organisations face an uncertain future, but we have planned for that uncertainty. We have put in place strategies to help us to cope, and we are confident of our vision and independence. We can't always clearly see the way ahead, but we can shape the path. I wish the Trust every success in its future, and I am confident that despite difficult times, it will find a way through. I'll be watching from afar progressions with our loan scheme and financial inclusion work, the expansion of our proven models of community and neighbourhood enabling, and of course one eye will be to the Observer Building. A great opportunity to tandem organisational resilience with community resilience. Thanks as always to my staff, trustees and volunteers, as well as service users and partners in the community. Without you all, the Trust would not be what it has grown to be over the past 21 years. Our greatest asset is our human resource and the commitment, passion, energy and enthusiasm of everyone with whom I have come into contact with through my role makes challenging work and sometimes difficult times pleasurable. We will be regular visitors to Hastings, and we look forward to our invitation to next year's AGM. Thank you.